In this lesson, we're going to be going over advanced listings. Now, I'm using advanced listings as a general term, but in general, an advanced listing would be a listing that is harder to read for the average person. So usually with keeper graphs, you're going to have a sales rank, you're going to have a buy box, you're going to know if Amazon's on the listing, you're going to know what the seller history is. You're going to know all of these things because it's very, very straightforward to learn a standard keeper graph. An advanced listing is a little bit more difficult, and most people will just run away from these things. I definitely did in the beginning of my Amazon business, but you're actually leaving a lot on the table because some of these advanced listings are actually selling really great, or they're very, very profitable. But because there isn't enough data to go off of, you're just walking past them. So I'm going to show you how to read these advanced listings. And advanced listings, just so we're all on the same page, they could be listings that have variations, multiple variations. They could be out of stock, they could have no buy box, they could have no sales rank. So there's a lot of things that would make it an advanced listing, but just as long as it's harder to read than an average keeper graph, I would consider that an advanced listing, because usually more advanced sellers are going to be the ones actually taking the time to review the data and actually make a purchase or decide that it's actually not a good purchase to go off of. So we're going to go over an advanced listing together so that you know exactly what to look for when you do run into these situations. So let's go over this Good and Gather fruit strip. So we can see with SellerAmp's already telling us there is no known BSR on this listing, and there are also no estimated monthly sales currently. So if we go down to Keepa, we can see that there's not a lot of data for us to go off of. We can toggle on sales rank, and there is nothing there. But the first thing that we want to do is see if there was ever a sales rank. So if we go back to all time, the last time there was a sales rank, it was back in 2021. And it wasn't great. Like, it would go up and down, but I mean, it was roughly 50K. Sometimes it would go up a little bit higher. That is too far away for us to take into account our decision right now. So if this sales rank was maybe a little bit closer, maybe it was in April or January, then we would take it a little bit more into account. But because markets do change, if you see it way far back, like a couple of years, over a year back, we can kind of consider it, but it's not really going to influence our decision all that much. So let's go back to a year, and we can see that over the course of the year, there has been no sales rank. But what we need to look for is other signs that this product is actually selling. One of those signs would be that if there's sellers coming into this product. And over the last year, it started from one seller and it got up to a high of 19 sellers. And currently there are 13 sellers. So we can see that people are coming in onto this listing, which means that it's obviously going to be selling to some degree. Another thing that we want to look at is the review count. So you want to make sure that the review count is checked on. And we want to see if there has been any reviews added to this listing. So currently it has 14 reviews. Our review count is actually 12. And it started the year with 1. If we go back 3 months, started 3 months ago with 8, and we are at 12. So we got 4 reviews. So it is selling to some degree. We know that because you're not getting one customer to purchase and then one customer leaves a review. Usually you're getting a bunch of customers and then one is leaving a review, very rarely. Okay, so if we're getting 4 reviews in the last 3 months, we know that this product is selling to some degree. So that's a good sign. We know that it's selling. We know that sellers are coming and going from this listing. So we do want to see that sellers are coming onto the listing, but we also want to see that sellers are dropping off. If sellers are coming on and the seller count isn't going down, that means nobody's selling their inventory. So we want to see them coming onto the listing and leaving. So this is a really good sign to see that it was at 1, it got up all the way to 20, and then it went down to 6, went back up to 14, down to 10. You get the idea. We want them to go in and come out because that means that they're selling through their inventory. So now we know that there is a review count that is increasing over the last year and the last 3 months. We know that sellers are coming onto the listing, selling through inventory, leaving, and other sellers are coming back. Another thing that we want to look for is the buy box history. So yes, we want to take into account the buy box here. Obviously, we want to know what we're selling it at. But if we go to data and we go to the buy box statistics. So now that we're on buy box statistics, we can filter out who has won the buy box in the last 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, and 1 year. The reason I like to look at this is because I like to see that sellers have been selling this product for an extended period of time. Now, keep in mind, this is a double-edged sword. The reason we want to look at all of the factors that we've already looked at is because we want to know that this product is selling to some degree. We know that because of the review count. We know that because sellers are coming in and going out. We know that because there is buy box data. Then we want to come on here and see if there are sellers who have been on this listing for an extended period of time. In other cases, or in some cases, you may also find sellers who have been on here for a very long time, and they could potentially have just made a really bad purchase order, way too large for the listing that isn't selling, and that's why they're on the listing for a long time. I don't think that's the case on this one, but we don't know. We're just trying to gather data to help us make a good buying decision. So we can see Adventure eStore is the one that's dominating the buy box right now. Not really dominating, but getting 30%. So let's see how long they've been on here. So if we go back 90 days, they've been on there as well. If we go back 6 months, they've been on there as well. And if we go back 1 year, they have been on this listing for 1 year and progressively getting more and more buy box share. That's a good sign to me because that means this guy's been selling this profitably more than likely for an entire year. Now, the next thing that we want to look at is the offers tab. Now, with the offers tab, we want to filter out for how we are selling. So we're going to be selling Prime and we're going to be selling FBA. Now, what we want to look at here is stock history. So these are the sellers, the different sellers that we want to look at. And Adventure eStore was the one right here. The Adventure eStore was the one that we were looking at, right? So this is how we find out, are they selling through inventory or did they just make a really bad purchase and they're not selling anything, right? Which we talked about in the buy box statistics. So if we go to Adventure eStore, we can see that they are selling through their inventory. He starts off with 10 units on, let's say, June 1st, and then by June 7th, he's got 1. And then let's see, June 23rd, he's got 16. By July 3rd, he's got 3. July 4th, he's got 18. July 4th, he's got 22. And then by August 18th, he's got 9. So he is selling, right? And he's not the only one. We also want to make sure other people are selling as well. So if we can go to Long and Shop, 27 units on July 16th. August 23rd, he's got 4. And you can see them. They're going in and out. So they're getting inventory, they're losing inventory. They're getting inventory, they're losing inventory because they're selling through that inventory. You can see this with all of these sellers. These are great signs to look for when you're looking at these advanced listings because the biggest thing we're looking for is this selling? And to what degree is this selling? So remember to keep in mind, some people are going to be selling through inventory faster than others. And one of those factors is going to be price. So this guy hasn't sold anything. He actually just went up in units and hasn't sold anything. And he's at $21.22. But some of these guys are at $20, 2019, 2020. So everybody's at a lower price than him, which is why they're getting the buy box more than him. And keep in mind, guys, this is all software. So software is not 100%. So sometimes you're going to go in here, you're going to see a good review count. You're going to see sellers coming and going. You're going to see good buy box statistics. Then you're going to come into the offers tab and you're not going to see very good data. You're going to see more kind of charts like this. Just keep in mind, that's why we look at multiple different factors to know that it is selling to some degree. This one for me, I would jump all over this and do a test order first. I'm not going to go in and make a massive order on an advanced listing without testing it first. That is my personal preference, my risk tolerance, because we can make all the educated decisions we want, but until we have real concrete data, that is when I will make a big purchase order. So always keep in mind with these advanced listings, we do want to test them out. If you want to be 100% sure that you're looking at the graph completely correctly so that you don't get stuck with a ton of inventory for a long time. Like I've said in other lessons, it's better to send in 10 units of a test order, sell through them on day one and worry about replenishing later than to send in 100 units of a product that doesn't sell. And then a year from now, you have to pull it out of your inventory because you didn't sell a single unit. So we also want to find out what is the most likely reason that there is no data, right? So is it a suppressed listing? Is it out of stock? So like right here, it's a telltale sign that it's out of stock where there is no seller history. It's because nobody has the inventory, right? So this is why there has been no data because there's no units being sold. Sometimes you're going to go over here Grocery and gourmet food is the parent category, and this is just a small subcategory. So it might not be assigned to the proper category for some reason in Amazon system. So that's why you're not getting any sales rank. Sometimes the buy box is going to be suppressed for whatever reason, and you're not going to see any buy box at all. Okay, so we want to kind of see why this isn't working. Like, why isn't anybody selling this? Because we want to rule out, did the brand come in and kick everybody out? Is there a bunch of IP complaints getting filed? Is just inventory is hard to come by? If inventory is hard to come by, that's great if you can actually get your hands on it, because then you're going to have inventory that nobody else is really having, and you're going to be able to sell it at whatever price you want within reason. So we didn't talk about variations on this particular lesson, but we do talk about variations in another lesson. But just to recap what we talked about here, when we're running into these advanced listings that have no sales rank, maybe they have no buy box, they have very little information for us to go off of, what we're looking for is, was there ever any sales history, any sales rank? If it's too far away, we're not going to take it very serious. Okay, that's one. The next one, is there sellers coming in and leaving? So if we turn off review count, we can see that sellers are coming in and going out pretty frequently. Okay, so that means they're sending in inventory, they're selling through inventory. Okay, the next thing that we need to look at is the review count. Is the review count increasing? We're not looking at rating because that's the amount of stars that it is. We're looking at the review count. Okay, so we have 3 stars here, and then it goes all the way up to 12. I mean, we have 3 reviews here, and then we're going all the way up to 12. So that's great because you're not getting 1 for 1. One customer buys, 1 customer leaves a review. Usually you're getting more like 100 customers buy, 1 leaves a review. So we know that it's selling. Next thing we want to look for is we want to go to the data tab on Keepa. We want to go to buy box statistics, and we want to see if there have been sellers on the listing for an extended period of time. And we want to use our other factors that we're looking for to make sure that they didn't just make a terrible purchase and they're just holding on to the inventory because they can't sell through. Then we want to go to the offers tab, and we want to find some of those sellers and see if they're selling through the inventory like this. Once we do, we want to also look at other sellers that are currently on the listing, and we want to see if they're selling through. And you can filter this 7, 30, 90, 6 months, 1 year. You can also filter this all time, but that's not really relevant. We want to see if it's selling right now. And then finally, we want to do a test order on an advanced listing to get concrete data that all of our research is correct, and then we can make bigger and bigger purchase orders.